so they meet again. Arsenal and Sheffield Wednesday locking horns for the 5th time this season, with Arsenal having beaten Sheffield Wednesday in the Coca-Cola Cup final. Revenge is on the agenda for the men from Yorkshire. A few empty seats, as you can see. Bad traffic problems on the M1 tonight, preventing some of the Yorkshiremen taking up their seats in time for the start of this game, which will definitely have an outright result tonight. It's not settled inside 90 minutes, extra time and possibly penalties on the agenda. Wednesday in the striped shirts with the first attack of the game. Here's Waddle. Now Harts. Across from Waddle. Picked up pretty comfortably by David Seaman. Chris Waddle knows what it's like to experience defeat in an FA Cup final. Member of the Tottenham side who lost in 1987. He's a former Tottenham player. Well, he'd love to get one over their old enemy, Arsenal. Free kick for the offside to be taken by Paul Warhurst, who, as you can see, has taken up his customary centre-half position tonight. Player who has done so well as a converted emergency striker this season. Some 18 goals in all competitions, 12 of them coming in the cups, but tonight Warhurst playing at the back. Lee Dixon to take the throw for Arsenal. Now Jensen. Signs of early nerves. Plenty of misplaced passes in the early stages. It's John Harks, who the weekend became the first American ever to play in an FA Cup final. Foul on Hurst by Tony Adams. Arsenal skipper acknowledging that it wasn't the cleverest challenge against the player who's been beset by injuries this season, and neither was that. Play continues. Alan Smith making his way forward. This is Mercer. Merson again. Good header away by Palmer. Only as far as Dixon. Campbell gives chase, and Nigel Worthington clears for an Arsenal throw. Still the protests from the Sheffield Wednesday players and supporters. It was a challenge by John Jensen in the midfield. I think what the Wednesday players were aggrieved about was the fact that the game was allowed to continue after the Dane went straight through the middle of his opponent. We're not seeing anything untoward with that challenge. Chris Waddle obviously likely to be a marked man tonight, the most experienced of the international footballers on the Wednesday side. One player that Sheffield Wednesday really can't afford to be without. Already without both Viv Anderson and Peter Shirtliff, which is why Carlton Palmer is the skipper tonight. Francis, the Wednesday manager, relying on the young Midlander. Waddle back on his feet and able to continue. That'll be very significant for Sheffield Wednesday. First of all, though, they've got this throw to defend. It's going to be Dixon to take it. Linegan and Smith both waiting. Awkward bounce, but Warhurst able to get it away. Ball from Harts, and Waddle will give chase. Done well to get to the byline past Linegan. Not a bad cross, but there's little in the way of support for him. Harts with a shot. Hit Davis. Ball from Worthington. Brave blocked by Paul Davis. And referee Barrett giving a free kick to Arsenal. Pretty inclement night in North London. Both sides taking a little bit of time to settle. 5 minutes into the game, it's been the rumbustious challenges which have set the tone so far. Difficult ball for Nigel Worthington, but he dealt with it well. And Mark Bright, what an impact he's had since arriving from Crystal Palace back in September. Davis now. Now by Hurst. Free kick to Arsenal. These challenges a hangover from the weekend. It's a pretty ill-tempered match. Barrett in charge of that one as well. He knows exactly what to expect tonight, where the potential flashpoints are. Dixon with the free kick, he's overhit it, and a slight stumble from Chris Woods didn't stop him getting to the ball cleanly. Goalkeepers on show tonight. Woods probably keeping David Seaman out of the side. Hand ball by Hurst, but number 5 Andy Linnigan steered it away. Giving a free kick to Arsenal, which David Seaman will take. 50 caps between them for England, these two goalkeepers. Seaman just the 9. Nielsen gives chase. Merson putting the pressure on and did well. Swedish international, one of many players for Wednesday, approaching 50 games this season. 1-1-4 from him. Oh, brilliantly done by Hurst. He's done well to get it in, looking for Bright. Andy Linnigan there to mop up for Arsenal. First moment of brilliance in the game supplied by David Hurst. Palmer offers himself with a short one. Wilson shot. The referee again giving a free kick to Arsenal. Mark Bright scored 21 goals this season, 20 of them for Sheffield Wednesday since that move from Crystal Palace, and the £350,000 that Wednesday paid for him seemed like a bargain. Palmer. Smith making life difficult. Find a role as Arsenal's target man these days. Alan Smith, the foil for the prolific Ian Wright. Campbell. Davis taking up a more advanced position this time. Worthington and Harps dealing with him very well. Clearance charge down. Great for Kevin Campbell. Sheridan in there. It's a Wednesday throw. The Arsenal deflection taking it out is Mark Bright. Long ball forward, should be easy for David Seaman and Lee Dixon. Seven England internationals in this Arsenal starting lineup today. John Jensen takes the international contingent to 8. He's the only foreigner in the Gunners starting lineup. Waddle trying to get past Nigel Winterburn. Jensen back to help out. So too was Smith. Arsenal elegantly playing their way out of a tight little avenue. Moves ball forward. Turned by Palmer. Neither side able to get the ball down and really play to their strengths inside the final third. The opening 10 minutes, similar fare to the 120 that we saw on Saturday between these two sides, and I think part of the problem is that they didn't know each other so well. Their strengths and weaknesses well documented. The last league meeting between these two was only a fortnight ago tonight, a game that Wednesday won by a goal to nil. Foul by Lindigan on Hurst. There is Viv Anderson. Not in the Sheffield Wednesday side tonight because of his damaged knee. As a former Arsenal player, it means so much to him. Victory for Wednesday. Bright with the air kick, Linnigan gets it away, and it's a Sheffield Wednesday corner. Side from set pieces, Sheffield Wednesday. What can they conjure from here? David Seaman dropped it, but got away with it. Smith beating Palmer. For Linnigan, when he dealt with the threat of Hurst pretty ably. You sometimes get the impression that Andy Linnigan needs that yard start though against David Hurst. A bit of misunderstanding there, but Palmer will rectify the situation for Wednesday. Hurst brought down. Right, the first player to be specifically spoken to by the referee. Ian Wright. For the season he's had 29 goals in 45 games. He's scored in every round of this FA Cup except for the semi-final against Tottenham. 9 goals in 6 FA Cup ties all told this season. Here's Merson, his chief supplier. Good play by Campbell. Lee Dixon now for Arsenal. Challenged by Nigel Worthington. Ball from Merson. Nielsen back to Chris Woods. Winterburn. Jensen. By Nielsen and then Wilson. Sheridan victim of a rumbustious challenge from Adams. This is Paul Davis now for Arsenal. Waddle trying to fashion a ball with the outside of his left foot. He's a real magician with the ball at his feet, Chris Waddle. Bright had mistimed his run forward. Arsenal, of course, so adept at playing that offside trap. The transformation as the football club has undergone since George Graham took over. Jensen. Dixon. And now Ian Wright. Woods out early, saw the danger. Right back into Tony Adams, and Arsenal have the free kick. You can almost guarantee tonight is a goal for Sheffield Wednesday. 50 the only side to beat them in a domestic cup tie this season, which was the Coca-Cola Cup final. Hurst offside. Chris Woods with the first important save of the game, spreading himself bravely at the feet of Ian Wright. Coming down, it's just going to make the top surface that little bit greasy. The surface that attacking players love. The ball will skid through to them. Forward by Nielsen. Palmer driving it into Jensen. Here's for handball. Ball on deaf ears. This is John Hart's now. Sheridan. Few options on the sender. Forward and total inside the penalty area, but couldn't pick any of them out. Now Wright will be able to try and bring it away for Arsenal. Challenged by Warhurst. A little bit of retribution for the earlier one. Here's Merson. Still Paul Merson. Would have expected to do better, Paul Merson, from that kind of position. Minutes or so into the replay of this final. There appear to be some tired legs out there after a long gruelling season, and Merson perhaps guilty of going for goal when a square ball to Ian Wright might have been a better option. Dixon in firmly, as it had to be before Mark Bright. Here's Winterburn. After the first yellow card of the game. Wilson, the perpetrator of the foul. The referee's going to let him escape a caution, but try and keep a lid on these simmering tempers. Worthington has played more games than any other player on the pitch this season. He's 58 for the campaign. Now Harks. Bright. Hurst. Good approach play by Wednesday, and Harks has continued his run forward. John Harks was the man who scored the early goal when these two met here in the Coca-Cola Cup final last month. Goal cancelled out about this stage of the game by Paul Merson. Of course, the Arsenal man who went on to get the winner absent tonight because of the injury that he suffered in the post-match celebrations when he fell over Tony Adams' shoulder and then hoisted up by the Arsenal skipper. It seemed to be an elbow by Bright. Linnigan was the player that got caught, and this will be the first yellow card of the game. There's been a succession of bad challenges. Of them all. Right. The lead with his elbow as he climbed. He might have broken his nose. Right, coming 19 minutes into the encounter. Definite contact made. An area of the game that has been talked about so much in recent months. A number of bad injuries have been suffered. It's a real smack Linnigan suffered. Linnigan, one of the players with a direct connection with the opposition, his two younger brothers on the books of Sheffield Wednesday. Stop-start is probably the best way to describe the 20 minutes or so that we've seen so far. Trevor Francis and Richie Barker as assistant. mixture of nervousness. Stoppage time to add on at the end of this first 45 minutes. Lengthy injury to Chris Waddle, this one to Linegan. Still in the first half of the first half. The 1993 FA Cup final. It's actually his 12th final, of course, a new record in English football. They've not won it since 1979, but Wednesday had to wait a lot longer than that since their success. 1935, the last time that they lifted the trophy. Arsenal do have a ready-made replacement for Linegan if he's unable to continue. They've got their experienced Irish international David O'Leary on the bench tonight. Still there, full weight of Mark Bright's elbow. He is able to continue. Arsenal physio Gary Lewin just giving him a tissue to stem any lingering flow of blood. After a stoppage of around 3 minutes or so, game poised to resume. Wednesday throw. Right, Mercer, never willing to receive the ball on that left-hand side of the Arsenal midfield. Now Winterburn. Jensen still waiting for his first Arsenal goal. Dixon. By Nigel Worthington. There's been more in their time at Hillsborough than Worthington, the Northern Ireland left back. Made his debut 9 years ago now. Flying around him. Adams. Winterburn on the overlap for him. Arsenal taking up a more central position that time. There's no width for Arsenal to try and rely on. Jensen, Davis and now Dixon keep up the attack for the Gunners. Good challenge. So Sheffield Wednesday have a chance to launch a counter-attack. This is Hearts. The closest Wednesday player to him, he cleverly lets it run. John Sheridan. Well, it was a good run forward by Harks. Sheridan unable to pick out the blue and white shirts in the centre for him. Say had an FA Cup final, but it has had the feeling of a game between two sides who are out of form at the moment. They've both come into this match having won only one of their last 6 games. Of course, there is the ongoing investigation into the weakened sides they both fielded for their final league match of the season. Wednesday making 7 changes for the final league game at QPR. Arsenal 11. A single player who played in the penultimate league game of the season against Crystal Palace, took the field for the home match with Spurs. for a central midfielder. One thing you can guarantee is the firmness of the challenge from Carlton Palmer. Davis to Dixon, time to measure across, and Linnigan and speed forward from the back. First clear-cut opportunity that Arsenal have created, and it's the right back finding the centre half 6 yards from goal. Good cross from Dixon, beautiful weight on it. Linnigan getting in past John Hart, but unable to send his header goal bound. He's got 3 goals in the back so far this season, Andy Linnigan. He is in accustomed defensive duty. Seen his clearance. See the flag against David Hurst. Effectively, not that he got to the back, but calling the best by Winterberg. Again, the referee allows to let it continue. He's right. If Arsenal can score from here, it'll be controversial, but Palmer negates the threat. On the back on his feet. Imagine Winterberg, the player that was doing battle with him. Perhaps Waddle made the most of it. That's a clearer indication. The elbow was flailing from Winterburn, but I'm not convinced it caught Chris Waddle quite as high up the body as he was making out. But of course, another player in the book so far for that elbow on Linnigan. Ball holds up for Dixon. As good a cross as he did a few moments ago. That one on his weaker left foot. Not quite such a good delivery. Ably dealt with by Paul Warhurst. Still make his international debut despite his recent inclusion in the England squads. And Merson. The idea was right with Winterburn making the run in behind him. Stranglehold on the game now. Jensen, Mercer, Jensen again. Campbell. Palmer steers it away as far as Dixon. Can they make this pressure count? With Winterburn a few moments ago. By Winterberg until he got it clear. Easily picked up by Nielsen. Here's Waddle. Oh, got ball! And it was Hart that had made the run ball from midfield. He had been picked up by the Arsenal back line. The angle always becoming that little bit too tight for him to wrap his foot around the ball, but he got in between Linnigan and Dixon. First sign of worry for Arsenal defensively. poised. Right. Twice, of course, in the final 3 years ago when he was a teammate of his opponent Mark Bright with Crystal Palace. Honestly, for both of those men, they lost the replay. One of them will be a winner tonight. The first 30 minutes have done little to suggest which of the two it will be. Arsenal were to lose tonight, it would be, I don't know really how the season will be looked back on in the years to come. As in the Coca-Cola Cup, of course. It finished a very disappointing 10th in the league. Bear in mind that as recently as November they were top after 6 successive wins, but then failed to win their next 8 league matches and drifted down to mid-table mediocrity as the cup runs really took hold. Wednesday ending up 3 places above them in the first season of the Premiership. And second, the Premiership has been a great success. Cleverly done by Campbell. Smith laid it back to him. Campbell firing it in. Jensen, Merson there to cut it out. Back from Tony Adams. Ball eludes Waddle to find Winterberg. Right with the header. Worthington takes control. And Chris Woods has got every right to bellow in his defenders. Frequently now inside the last 30 yards of the pitch. The second ball is being won by a man in a red and white shirt. Hasn't that time had a lot of time and space to be able to judge his shot towards goal. Rain coming down with increased ferocity as we wait for the opening goal in this FA Cup final replay. Could be now though. Here's Ian Wright. Through goal. Arsenal lead by a goal in it. The deadlock broken. And Arsenal's pressure finally counts for a goal in the 34th minute of the game. Wednesday's defence reached again. And Ian Wright scores his 10th goal in the FA Cup this season. Wood's got a hand to it, but neither of the Wednesday defenders could stop the ball tripling over the line. And Ian Wright continues his wonderful scoring record in this competition this season. That's his 30th goal of the season all told. And after a hat-trick against Yeovil in the 3rd round, 2 at Leeds in the 4th round, 2 against Forest in the 5th round. And now scores in the FA Cup final. Games between these two this season have always been settled by just a goal. I wonder if that's the goal that will settle this one. Arsenal, of course, did lead on Saturday through a goal from Ian Wright, only to be paid back. This is Danny Wilson. He's been quite quiet so far for Wednesday. Out towards Waddle. With a header away. Nicely frustrated at his inability to control the ball hanging in the air. Bright. Waddle. Little chip from him, as it is one, but Hayes can get it away. Kevin Campbell. Oh, a terrible back pass! Smith! It was the finish of a man who's only scored 1 goal in his last 15 matches. So much more to his game these days than just getting goals. Alan Smith. Poor piece of play by Wilson. Came in deflection on Palmer, but I think it was more hope than expectation. What Arsenal have got to do now is consolidate this lead in the 10 minutes or so leading up to half time. Wilson. Leading by example as always for Arsenal. Ball from Smith to Mercer. Mercer looks as though he's got the beating of Roland Nielsen every time he pushes forward down that left flank. It was Elton Palmer who had to double up that time. Now an injury to Ian Wright causes concern for Arsenal. Of the night so far. There's David O'Leary. He's been told by the referee not to too much in the coaching advice to his teammate Alan Smith, the player he was talking to. O'Leary does come on today. It will be his last appearance for the Gunners. Testimonial on Monday night against Manchester United. Waddle, away by Dixon. Fitting into O'Leary's career of his last game, albeit as a substitute, was to be in the FA Cup final. Free transfer granted. Selly is the other man of the Arsenal bench tonight. Dixon. At least wanting the option of a quick free kick. His playing surface got the better of him as he eventually played at it. Campbell. Challenge on him by Wilson. And then getting it back to David Seaman. Campbell. Palmer is the latest player to go down with an injury problem. As we saw off Yeovil in round 3 with an Ian Wright hat-trick then. 2-2 draw at Highbury against Leeds, was followed up by a 3-2 win in the replay at Ellen Road. They trailed that game 2-1, only 2 minutes to go. Forest, Ipswich and Tottenham all vanquished as George Graham's men made it through this far. Good challenge by Palmer on Campbell. Right ankle. Caught underneath him as he sustained the full weight of Kevin Campbell. Right. Wednesday substitutes tonight, incidentally, the 18-year-old Chris Bart-Williams and also Graham Hyde. Neither of those would be natural replacements for Palmer. The absence of both Anderson and Peter Shirtler through injury, it's vital that Sheff Wednesday's defensive resources get tested any more than this. Real cause of concern for Trevor Francis, but much concern in those Arsenal fans at the moment. 1-0 they lead. Dixon preparing to launch this long throw inside the penalty area. Decent flick on! Should have been 2-0. And Alan Smith knows that. Wednesday caught cold. Palmer out of position, having just received that treatment. Flick on eluding him. Smith putting it wide. 3 goals in the league for Alan Smith this season in 37 matches. Just appears to have lost a little bit of that sharpness in front of goal that he enjoyed earlier in his career as the strike partner of Gary Lineker at Leicester, and similarly prolific in Arsenal's title-winning season a couple of years ago. Here's Merson again. Arguably the pick of the Arsenal players in this first half. Jensen. Dixon. One back by Linnigan. Dixon helping it forward. Nigel Worthington there at the back. Never gone out of play. It's an Arsenal throw. Well, nominally only a couple of minutes to go to half time, but there will be an inordinate amount of time to be added on. Dixon. There's Waddle. Bright trying to hold it up. Smith. Now Winterburn. Blending in the Sheff Wednesday player, becoming a little bit more frenetic. It's the third time they've trailed to Arsenal in a cup final this season. And then early on in the Coca-Cola Cup final, they lost by 2 goals to 1. Trailed, of course, on Saturday. For David Hurst's equaliser midway through the second half. And trail again tonight, again to an Ian Wright goal. Waddle. Nonsense defending from Winterburn, but the push from David Hurst gives a free kick to Arsenal. Apparently born of frustration from David Hurst. Hurst has missed exactly half of Wednesday's games this season through injury, and yet still has 16 goals to his credit, the joint leading goal scorer in the league with Mark Bright. Another Wednesday player goes down into that time. It's Harks. Still John Harks lies prone in the midfield. Nigel Worthington not thinking of putting the ball out of play so his teammate can receive treatment. Be able to receive the treatment that's necessary at the beginning of the time, which is going to be added on for stoppages. There could easily be 5 or 6 minutes yet before the two teams trudge off at half time. Marks just catching the studs of Jensen's right boot on his left thigh by the look of it. Players have shirking that challenge. much as Kent is enjoying it so far. It's been one for the connoisseurs in this game. It hasn't really been able to flow at any stage. On the side of been at their mesmeric best. Neither of them finished in the top 6 of the Premiership this season. It does tell a story to a certain extent. And Seaman yet to have to make a save. Chris Woods has been beaten by Wright and has really been called into action on a couple of occasions. Chances definitely at a premium at either end of the pitch. Play sporting the return to Arsenal. Dixon, I think, put the ball out of play so that Hearts could receive treatment. David Seaman will resume the 1993 FA Cup final. Flick on straight through to Chris Woods. Marks. Marks again, leading the challenge of Dixon, couldn't get the return ball. Worthington. Smith's foul giving to Sheffield Wednesday. Almost 4 minutes into stoppage time at the end of the first half. Arsenal still leading courtesy of that goal from Ian Wright. Here's Sheridan. Played by Adams. Palmer. To Roland Nielsen. Smith's Industries got Merson away again. To miss the ball from Jensen through the midfield. He was an awful lot of Kevin Campbell to be able to make up the ground on that touchdown as quickly as that. Ball from Worthington. Play by Hurst. Showing the player that he looked for with the back heel, and this time it's run back by Hurst again. Now Waddle renewing his rivalry with Winterburn. And beating it, and Jensen across the cover, and that'll be a goal kick. The referee decided that this touch could come off Jensen. On Wednesday's second corner of the half, and Arsenal yet to win one. George Graham still on the virtues of concentration this deep into the injury time. Palmer helping it in. Played by Adams and then Dixon. Worthington. Forward from Harks. Sheridan making the run forward. Dixon was the player that was caught. That looks like a painful one. It's one of the few occasions that they've been able to string the passes together inside the final third. The referee's assistant there, bottom of your screen, flagging. Sheridan caught Dixon. Wednesday won the League Cup against Manchester United a couple of years ago, a game in which John Sheridan scored the winner. That was their first trophy for 56 years. Are they going to be able to make it 2 cup successes in the space of a couple of seasons, or is a campaign which is currently run to 63 matches going to end with nothing in the trophy cabinet? And more success for Arsenal under the watchful eyes of George Gray and the Stuart Houston. We're in the 7th minute of stoppage time at the end of the first half. Well played by him, and he stays down injured again. He may well not be able to continue for much more, Ian Wright, because of these injuries that he's been suffering. Foul by Jensen. Free kick to Wednesday. One last chance perhaps to get the cavalry forward for a first half equaliser. Nations attempt from Nigel Worthington. Goals in nearly 60 games this season for Wednesday. And after nearly 53 minutes of play, the first half comes to an end. Ian Wright with the goal. Deja vu, as it was on Saturday at half-time. Arsenal lead Sheffield Wednesday 1-0, thanks to Ian Wright. So Ian Wright's goal separating Arsenal and Sheffield Wednesday. So we prepare to get the second half off and running. Arsenal do what they failed to do 5 days ago, and is hold on to their half-time lead through the second 45 minutes. No changes made by either side at half-time, despite the plethora of injuries that were picked up in that first 45, which necessitated an 8-minute extension to the first half. For Wednesday, and an early touch for goalkeeper Chris Woods. And one of those players who had a little chicken in the first half to a nose injury, which earned quite a yellow card for an elbow. And the first shot of the second half, and John Harkes well wide of David Seaman's left-hand post. This is their 4th game here this season, having played the League Cup final against each other, the FA Cup final at the weekend, and also their respective semi-finals. And of course, local derbies, Arsenal beating Tottenham 1-0 and Sheff Wednesday beating Sheffield United by 2-1 after extra time. The Wednesday side on view tonight shows only one change, and that which contested the Coca-Cola Cup final. That's the return of Nigel Worthington at left back instead of Phil King. They also have Dixon, Jensen and Smith in the side, who didn't play in that Coca-Cola Cup final success. The players missing out: Ray Parlour, who's been dropped tonight, Steve Morrow and David O'Leary. With the throw for Arsenal. This time it's a Wednesday throw. The surprise of Carlton Palmer, who taken a couple of steps back as if he was preparing to try and defend again. Credit to the Sheffield Wednesday fans doing their bit to try and lift their side at such an important stage of the game for them, trailing 1-0. By Nigel Worthington. Dixon's throw. This is Alan Smith. Linigan forward. Joining the usual suspects, the likes of Smith and Campbell. Wilson getting it away for Sheffield Wednesday, back from Adams. Good play by Dixon. Very injudicious lunge from Harks. Corner. Breaks for Merson. Now Winterburn. Merson to Ian Wright. Taking on Nielsen. Cross. And easy for Chris Woods. Signs that Wednesday are beginning to get a little bit rattled. Dixon. Also having the majority of possession in the early stages of this second half. Winterburn. Now Adams. Dixon. On there before Alan Smith. The battle of the two Brummies. The throw, shall I say, be taken by Arsenal. Wright's forward, Merson waits in a central position as well. Smith supplying the movement for Lee Dixon. Now Merson was blocked. Arsenal had their first corner. There we go, goal kick. Emerging as one of the creative midfield players of note in England. Goals this season, including one in the Coca-Cola Cup final against Sheffield Wednesday. This is his 50th match of the season. Support. Worthington. Wednesday with the first corner of the second half. As time goes on, they'll gamble more and more, getting players forward. Palmer and Linigan jostling at the near post. It's over both of them. And David Seaman, slightly unorthodox way of catching the ball. There's a poor throw out. He's got away with it though. Three Arsenal players trying to defend the same ball. Eventually Winterburn got it away. Consider himself to be slightly fortunate there, David Seaman. This is Worthington. Challenged by Campbell. Worthington out of position as Arsenal try and break forward, but regain their defensive shape now of Sheffield Wednesday. Dixon. To David Seaman. Arsenal as Arsenal player down off the ball. Good play by Warhurst, steaming forward for the first time. Now he stays down injured. Increasingly ill-tempered as these stakes get higher the longer the game goes on. Jensen caught Sheridan in possession. Here's Campbell. Smith makes his way into the centre. Ian Wright tries to find Campbell, who got to the byline before the ball, unable to pull it back. Now the Wednesday player injured is Paul Warhurst, who has been carrying that wrist and arm injury. It's as though he's aggravated it after the run forward. So he collided with Tony Adams and then full weight of him went down on that stricken arm. It's an option that Wednesday have, providing he can recover from this injury, of course, to push Warhurst up front. 18 goals this season, the hero particularly against Derby in the quarterfinals, where he scored twice in the initial game between the two sides, which ended 3-3, and then the only goal in the replay. A couple of goals in the fifth round as well against Southend. This season he scored in 6 consecutive games. Paul Warhurst, the first Wednesday player to achieve that particular feat since Redfern Froggatt back in 1958. Another view of that injury. Clearly the left arm took the brunt of Warhurst's fall, but he'll be able to continue. At the heart of the Wednesday defence. 10 minutes gone in the second half. And the second half so far has been very similar to the first. Little in the way of goalmouth opportunity, plenty in the way of injury. Waddle. Sheridan, followed by Worthington. Hurst. Bright doing well to hold it up. Now Danny Wilson takes over. Good firm challenge on him. Arsenal trying to bring it away, and here's Ian Wright onside. Well, he didn't have much in the way of support, and with Warhurst bearing down on him, in the end it was relatively easy for Sheffield Wednesday to defend the shot from Wright. Success he's been since his move from Crystal Palace. 56 goals now for Arsenal in 78 games, including the one tonight, which at the moment looks as though it's going to be taking the 1993 FA Cup to Highbury. Worthington gets his header away. Sheridan. Nielsen. One sortie forward from him. Still he continues his run. Bright going down off the ball. In the end, it's far too easy for David Seaman. Waddle furious with John Harkes at the lack of quality in the delivery. Waddle having stationed himself at the far post in a bit of space, he'd got away from Nigel Worthington, who would have been his natural defensive cover. a mop-up who had a fantastic start to their season in terms of cup football. They only lost one of their first 18 cup ties this season. That was against Kaiserslautern in the UEFA Cup. And they went down by 3 goals to 1. The Seamen knew what they were doing after a fashion. Letting it run for Winterberg. Wright invited forward. Now Bright. This is a decent spell for Sheffield Wednesday. They're not really doing anything constructive in the final third. They're beginning to get more of the ball in the midfield. Offside flag is up. Bright made his way through. I'm not actually convinced he was against Bright. That's a free kick to be taken by Arsenal's David Seaman. International for nearly 5 years now since making his debut back in November 1988, but still in single figures in terms of appearances for his country. Two more of the internationals on view tonight collide, Alan Smith and Nigel Worthington. Smith has scored his 100th goal for Arsenal earlier this season. Second goal for Arsenal would surely give Sheffield Wednesday too much to do. This is a decent kind of position for them to construct something. Davis with the free kick. Header away from Warhurst. Back from Dixon to Paul Davis again. And frustratingly for the Arsenal fans, he's caught offside and then tries to stop them taking the free kick quickly. This is going to be a yellow card for Davis for ungentlemanly conduct, and quite rightly so. Davis and his wily manager George Graham will say that that is a good exchange. Yellow card. The penalty could have been a lot greater had Wednesday been able to take the free kick quickly, with Arsenal's rear guard having pushed forward for that set piece at the other end. Davis, the second player in the book, Mark Bright of Sheffield Wednesday, booked in the first half for a foul on Andy Linnigan. Piece in terms of bookings. Wednesday wish that was the case in terms of goals. Defensive work again by Wednesday. Jensen. Winterberg. Mercer. And just teasing it forward, and Nielsen found himself trying to deal with both Mercer and Smith. Waddle gets it away. To make the first change of the game, it's Graham Hyde who looks set to come on, a central midfielder. Wilson has been quite quiet. I imagine with Wednesday trailing by a goal nil, it would be Wilson rather than Sheridan who came off, and indeed it is Danny Wilson who will make way. So Graham Hyde, the 22-year-old local lad, product of the youth team at Hillsborough, comes on with 18 minutes of the second half played. Still less than 50 senior appearances in his career, Graham Hyde. Tonight his 47th for Wednesday. Jensen. Winterburn. Steepling cross from right. Smith trying to make the most of it, but to no avail. For Hyde. Tony Adams concedes the corner. The referees decided that touch did come off Mark Bright. A few of those close calls tonight for the referee and his linesman to try and get right around the corner flag. A few protests, to be fair, from Bright about that decision. The player who has stayed down. The trouble has been, Mr. David Hurst, the first job of the physios, get him off the pitch. Here's Mercer. Away from an attacking perspective at the moment. Bright. Waddle. Bright. Adams was there, stood firm, still hasn't got the danger away. Do so now. Wednesday have their fourth corner. Been slowly getting themselves back into the game, Sheffield Wednesday. This is Waddle. Good trick. There's another corner off Campbell. First back on the field. Wednesday return to their full complement of 11. This will be an outswinger from Waddle. Back to aid the defence with a header clear. Then Adams. Winterburn that time. Ball from Hurst. This is Graham Hyde. Good play by Hyde. Arsenal standing firm again. Still trying to think of a single save that David Seaman has had to make. Jensen. Now Mercer. Mistake by Palmer. Rescued the situation well. Waddle turning it forward. Instinctively anticipating the run of Mark Bright. I understand the fury on that Arsenal bench. George Graham and Stuart Houston not happy with some of the defending in the last 10 minutes or so. Arsenal are losing their grip. Still lead by a goal to nil. Past the midway stage of this second half there. A little over 20 minutes away from winning the FA Cup for the 6th time. Hurst. Now Harks cropping up on the right-hand side this time. 1-0! 1-1! The pressure counts for Sheffield Wednesday. Chris Waddle with the equalising goal. With the aid of a deflection, David Seaman beaten by the first shot in anger that he's faced in nearly 70 minutes of play. Harks with the cross. Bright made life difficult for Linegan. And it ricocheted back off Lee Dixon, past David Seaman. And as they did on Saturday, Sheffield Wednesday equalise midway through the second half, after Arsenal had taken a first half lead. And still, there's nothing to choose between these clubs. The destiny of the 1993 FA Cup remains uncertain. That's a rare goal for Waddle. He scored in the first minute of the FA Cup semi-final against Sheffield United here. That's only his fourth in 54 games this season. Now Wednesday with their tails up. Linegan though capitalising on a poor first touch by Waddle. George Graham looks on frustrated. You almost got the impression that he could see that coming. Only jumpy for the 3 or 4 minutes before the goal. And the defensive caution that he'd urged, not heeded by his back line. And Wednesday the better side at the moment. Adams in late. Probably a calculated risk in that area of the field. Barrett has been quite lenient tonight, just showing the 2 yellow cards. Probably gambled that he wouldn't pick up one there. This is Roland Nielsen. Now Sheridan. Good ball forward. Look for David Hurst. Bright! So nearly 2 goals in 3 minutes for Sheffield Wednesday. Undoubtedly the better side at the moment. Good play by Hurst, and Bright just seeing his shot kiss the outside of the post, an inch away from his 22nd goal of the season. Arsenal's grip on this trophy loosening all the time. Linegan. Nielsen. Forward from Harks. Arsenal having to resort more and more to counter-attack, trying to utilise the pace of Ian Wright behind the Sheffield Wednesday back line. The invention of Merson has been missing in this second half. The midfield dominance that Arsenal enjoyed in the centre with Davis and Jensen has been overcome by Sheffield Wednesday. Winterburn. This is Merson, and this is promising for Arsenal. Away by Warhurst. Jensen shot charged down by Hyde. And Winterburn's touch gives Sheffield Wednesday a goal kick. The complexions of the 2 sets of supporters have changed. Chris Waddle's always been a big game player, but he's always seemingly had bad luck in cup finals. He was losing the FA Cup final in '87. He was on the losing side in the European Champions Club Cup final a couple of years ago with Marseille. It's fitting that the Sports Writers Player of the Year is the man who has written his name indelibly into the history of this final. Still, all the night's drama is yet to unfold. There will be a winner tonight. Another 90 minutes in extra time, or on penalties. Arsenal have the first chance to put a set piece into the Sheffield Wednesday penalty area for about a quarter of an hour as the taunts of the Wednesday fans ring round the Arsenal ears. Mike was waiting there. Flag was up. I don't think he agreed with the decision. To go. Seaman with the free kick. Handed away by Palmer. Back from Campbell. Nice touch came off Sheridan. This is Arsenal's first corner of the game. And it's come in the 76th minute. Lightweights with hands on hips. Adams joins him in an advanced position. Delivery from Davis was a poor one. Paul Davis that have made this football club so successful. Arsenal, the only club that he's represented in his career. Over 300 starts in the league for them now. Here's Waddle. Can't stay down. Might have made his way forward. He's had quite a significant impact since coming on Graham Hyde. Drops on the bench for Trevor Francis. And it's Bart Williams, the 18-year-old who's been the most emerging players in England this season, having played nearly 50 games. His debut as a 16-year-old for Lake Norient a couple of years ago. Very bright future ahead of him. Hyde. Clear push. Sheffield Wednesday free kick, and this will be a yellow card for Alan Smith. Smith joins teammate Paul Davis and right of Sheffield Wednesday in the book. It's a bit of a striker's challenge, really. Nielsen with a marauding run forward. It was a better challenge from Smith that time. Winterburn forward, Merson couldn't control. Sheridan for Hyde. Palmer. Winterburn. Merson. Davis. Campbell was actually expecting the ball forward. That was the pass of a tired young man. Foul by Alan Smith. Wednesday looking the calmer of the two sides at the moment. So which of the two teams time would favour in terms of fitness. They have played 4 games more than Arsenal this season, but Arsenal themselves are playing their 59th. Ball forward from Waddle. Hearts have made the run. Clearance by Linegan. Made for heroes. It's a situation made for nerveless players. Such David O'Leary could be on for Arsenal very shortly. Interesting to see what George Graham does tactically, whether he takes one of his strikers off to bring O'Leary on. Try and protect what they've got. Hearts. Ball touched by Bright. Adams getting it back to David Seaman and then showing him where his escape route was. But for a poor first touch from Mark Bright. The introduction of David O'Leary might have been too late. Wright's toe injury will rule him out of the last 8 minutes. His season over. His job done today with the opening goal of the game, but cancelled out by Chris Waddle. O'Leary on for his last appearance in an Arsenal shirt, his 722nd game for the club. No one has played more for Arsenal, of course, than David O'Leary. Jensen, put up by Warhurst. Jensen again. Now Campbell, and he's Merson! Chris Wood's got lucky, but Paul Merson should have done better. A golden chance to give Arsenal a lead again inside the final 10 minutes, and it's a chance squandered by Paul Merson. Sheridan. Jensen, who constructed that attack at the other end, back to defend. He's a very solid game, John Jensen, in the part of the Arsenal midfield, even if Wednesday did get the upper hand in the 20 minutes or so leading up to their goal. Davis, now Adams. Good ball, Winterburn. Finding Alan Smith. Long throw from Winterburn. Dixon would rather that than falling onto his right foot. It looks as though he's attacking the ball with any conviction there. Here's Chris Waddle bringing it away for Wednesday. Oh, it's a good flick. Out comes David Seaman. Good goalkeeping. Sheringham still lies inside the penalty area. Jensen back to concede the corner. The game is more open now than it has been at any time. More open now than it was at any time on Saturday. And to that end, now Arsenal will be wishing that Ian Wright was still fit enough to be leading their line. This was the chance at the other end. Jensen flicking it forward. And Merson not really with the power in the shot. Woods very grateful to save at the second attempt. Now since David O'Leary made his international debut as a raw teenager for the Republic of Ireland against England. 20 years he's been a player at Highbury. Whatever happens tonight, it will be the end of an era. O'Leary leaves the club that he joined as a 16-year-old in his hometown of Dublin. He was in fact born not far from Highbury, but his parents went back to Ireland when he was just a few months old. Wednesday with the corner. David Seaman was lucky. Hurst unable to hit the target with the header. Touch on its way through from Tony Adams. One moment of magic at either end now wins the FA Cup. Waddle urges more support from the travelling Yorkshire contingent. Hurst waits, Hyde up there as well. Bright shadowing the goalkeeper. Seaman punches it clear. Palmer tries to help it back in. Bright tries to get goal side of Winterburn. Sheffield Wednesday have a throw and the upper hand at the moment. O'Leary. Now Smith. In the crowd today, the Sheffield Wednesday side, who were here at Wembley when they last won the FA Cup in 1935, beating West Brom by 4-2. A few will have been here 27 years ago when they lost in their last final to Everton 3-2. Here's Waddle. The flag is stayed down. Worthington scampered after it, couldn't get the ball across in an effective manner. O'Leary gets it away. Nielsen. Hyde chased through. O'Leary can shepherd it back to David Seaman. What does the destiny hold? On the shoulders of Kevin Campbell. George Graham's side at the moment, lying on Charles on the counter attack. So he will be the happier of the two managers to hear the full-time whistle. It was a case of sudden death now, so close to the end of the 90 minutes that one goal this juncture would surely win the game. If Arsenal concede in extra time, they will have more time to get themselves back into the game. Linegan. Well cut out by O'Leary as Hurst trying to get in. And O'Leary makes his way forward. Still he's continuing his run, David O'Leary. This is Lee Dixon. Didn't have options. O'Leary 15 yards outside the penalty area. Hadn't been picked up by any of the retreating Sheffield Wednesday midfielders. Lee Dixon just fired in the cross and hoped that someone would be in the right place for it. High. Here's Adams. Now Davis. Campbell and Smith ahead of him. This is Winterburn. Merson was waiting on the left-hand touchline, but the ball didn't come his way. The long legs of Palmer getting it clear for the umpteenth time tonight. This is David Hurst now. Round the challenge of O'Leary. Still Hurst, right in the centre. It's side netting only for Sheffield Wednesday. Possibly hasn't been quite the same player since coming back from injury, David Hurst. He was subject of a big money bid back in the early part of the winter from Manchester United. Stayed in Yorkshire, unable to angles right for the goal which would have won the cup for Sheffield Wednesday there. This is Davis. Sheridan. Bright makes his way forward. Very calmly done by Linegan. Winterburn does well to keep it in. Merson gives chase. This is Merson after Warhurst couldn't deal with it effectively. Palmer can though. Now Campbell. Good play by Kevin Campbell. Just wanted too long to judge what he was going to do. Warhurst rectifies his own error. Linegan forward from the back. Jensen's there as well. Corner comes in from Merson. Headed clear by Warhurst. Back in from Davis. Adams is forward. Winterburn. Good play by Merson. Campbell. Davis with the shot. All of a sudden, Arsenal giving everything they've got for the last 2 or 3 minutes. Elegantly done by O'Leary. Here's Linegan. Davis. Dixon. And the 1993 FA Cup final goes to extra time. And as it was on Saturday, 1-1 at this juncture. Extra time doesn't separate them this time. Penalties will have to. So, will it be Arsenal's 6th FA Cup triumph? Or will it be Sheffield Wednesday's 4th? Nerves getting increasingly frayed. So far, 210 minutes have been unable to separate these two. 30 could well, or it will be the agony of penalties in the first FA Cup final to be settled by spot kicks. Tony Adams and Carlton Palmer, the two captains, knew their acquaintance at the toss. And the two teams will change round for the first period of 15 minutes of extra time. 1-1 the scoreline. Ian Wright in the first half. Chris Waddle's shot deflecting off Lee Dixon and wrong-footing David Seaman for Sheffield Wednesday's equalising goal, just over 20 minutes away from full time. So Arsenal will kick from right to left in this first period of extra time, the same way as they were going in that second half. Wednesday attacking the goal in which they scored. Here's Jensen. Now Paul Davis. Dixon. Smith trying to get in there. Followed by Nielsen, the Swedish international. The first free kick of the second half goes against Kevin Campbell. Unduly defensively, Arsenal, but they're going to make sure they don't make any silly mistakes at the back with the three centre halves on view for this extra time. Adams, Linnigan and O'Leary. Doesn't leave them one short pushing forward though. Responsibility on the full-backs, Winterburn and Dixon, to push forward. They are playing as full-backs rather than wing-backs in this system at the moment. Here is Winterburn. By Nigel Worthington past Paul Davis. Wright tries to make something of it and was pushed by Andy Linnigan. Now Sheridan. Challenged by Adams. And John Sheridan is furious. It's going to be a free kick to Sheffield Wednesday. Sheridan seemed to have the beating of the England defender there. Waddle goes over to try and orchestrate proceedings from the set piece. Harks waits. Mark Bright there as well. Not too many for Sheffield Wednesday. Just about everyone back for Arsenal. Shot. Easy for David Seaman to read. I hope that wasn't an omen for how extra time is going to go. Wednesday having 3 in the penalty area attacking that set piece, and Arsenal had 10 back defending it. Dixon. Well defended by Andy Linnigan. Playing on the right of the three centre halves with Adams on the left and O'Leary sweeping. Forward from Waddle. Time for David O'Leary. Certainly after the service he's given to Arsenal, he doesn't deserve to be the man who makes the mistake that would let in Sheffield Wednesday to win the cup. The games between the two, and including the Coca-Cola Cup final in this as well, have been so evenly matched that neither side deserved to win this, profiting on a mistake by the opposition. penalty shootout would be preferable to that. Dixon's throw. And David Seaman will just let the clock tick down that little bit further. If it does go to penalties, it will be an intriguing contest with England's number 1 and number 2 goalkeepers trying to keep them out. Smith pushed Carlton Palmer as he laid it off to Davis. Hasn't had much change from referee Barrett throughout this game, Alan Smith. Clearance from Woods, the most decorated of the players on show tonight in terms of honours won. A very successful spell north of the border with Rangers. Carlton Palmer's free kick. Strong challenge by Winterburn on Harks. Nielsen with the throw. Here's Hurst. Sheridan. Waddle. The scorer of 1 goal for Sheffield Wednesday, cutting in from that left-hand touchline. Arsenal doubling up on him this time. Campbell sending it to Worthington. Chip forward for John Harks. And Nigel Winterburn forced to concede the first corner of extra time. Sheffield Wednesday 6th of the game compared to the 2 that Arsenal have won. Is that the only cup that's going to be held aloft by someone from Yorkshire? Or are Wednesday going to be able to deny Arsenal a little piece of history? The Gunners bidding to become the first English side to win both domestic cup competitions in the same season. Here's Waddle. Brought down by Nielsen. And the shot easy for David Seaman to save. Sheridan's effort, possibly the first shot on target that David Seaman has saved in the entire game. It's not by way of criticism of the goalkeeper, it's the lack of chances that have been created. Away by Dixon. Sheffield Wednesday, the more inventive of the 2 sides in extra time so far. George Graham and Stuart Houston clearly not happy. Adams. Jensen. Davis. Forward from Dixon. Away by Nigel Worthington for an Arsenal throw. A rare sortie into Sheffield Wednesday territory in extra time. Graham Hyde doing well to step round the challenge of John Jensen. The young man has really risen to the occasion. Bright to Harks. Nielsen. Arsenal get it away. Harks again. Merson forced all the way back. David Seaman makes a comfortable job of collecting the cross off the head of David Hurst. 100th minute of this FA Cup final replay, and still no closer to knowing who's going to win it. Tony Adams, linchpin of the side that won the 2 league titles for 3 years for the Gunners. Here's Palmer now for Sheffield Wednesday. Now without narration from David Seaman from Carlton Palmer. Either that or he was trying to stop him taking the goal kick quickly. There's Palmer, wonderful engine on it, back in position so quickly for Wednesday. Good play again by Hyde. He's offered more in the central midfield role than Danny Wilson, the man he replaced. Now, Harks, can the delivery be good? It can't be. David Seaman carried it behind, saying that it had already gone out. John Harks has settled well in English football since his move from his native United States. Recent pass with John Francis replacing Ron Atkinson of the Wednesday side that beat Manchester United in the League Cup final as a second division club just a couple of years ago. Only 4 players who won the cup with Wednesday in 1991 played tonight. That's Nielsen, Worthington, Hurst and Sheridan, who scored the all-important goal in that game. Linnigan. Face battered and bruised after that elbow from Mark Bright. You can clearly see the knock that he took around the nose. Davis, Mercer. Now Winterburn. Campbell was forward, wanting an early ball to be played in. Laid back by Davis. Hoofed away by Chris Waddle. Now Adams, Winterburn, standing it up for Merson. Sheridan. An attempted goal. It was the cheekiest of the night so far. David Seaman a long way off his line, but there's no way David Seaman was going to be lobbed from such distance as that. Here's Dixon. And that wasn't far away either. Chris Wood's well placed. Speculative effort from Lee Dixon, who hasn't scored in his 40-plus games this season. Woods didn't make it look particularly elegant. Did have everything under control. mistake by Warhurst. Campbell, token gesture applying pressure to the back pass, but he did enough because Wood's clearance wasn't very clever. He's just left holding his hamstring, I think, got that away. Here's Mark Bright. He's done well to get past Linnigan, who recovered just in time. O'Leary gets it clear. This is better from Wednesday. Throw to Sheffield Wednesday. Again, signs that they have more belief that they can go on and win the game. Been here before to a certain extent because they won their semi-final against Sheffield United with a goal just after the interval in extra time from Mark Bright. Bright with plenty of marauding runs in that first period of extra time in the final, but as yet no way through, and it remains 1-1. Management team to have an intimate word with any of their players. The two teams just change round. In the meantime, it takes Chris Woods and David Seaman to get from one end to the other. The players will have a breather. Then the game will resume. 105 minutes gone in the replay of the 1993 FA Cup final, and still it's all square. Dixon with the throw for Arsenal. Here's Sheridan. Bright. Hurst. I'm not surprised he's feeling dazed by that, because his initial shot ricocheted off the Arsenal defender and straight into his face. It was that carried it over the bar. The ball coming back to him off Tony Adams. See how far the ball landed back behind David Seaman's goal. Shows how hard it hit Hurst in the face. Not for the first time in this game. One of the players is going to need a lengthy bit of treatment. David Hurst's good looks. The second period of extra time. Ian Wright and Chris Waddle with the only goals. And the prospect of a penalty shootout is looming ever larger. Worthington's throw. Here's Waddle. Mark Bright ran away from the ball, wasn't looking to see Chris Waddle had played it back to him, and Arsenal will be able to try and get the ball forward to Campbell. Good defence by Warhurst. Clearance by Woods. Winterburn stands firm in the challenge, but concedes the throw. ball was of secondary importance there to players converging on it. Hurst and Adams and John Harkes as well. Here's Linegan. Dixon. On the flick on comes for Smith! That was the chance for Arsenal. And he knows it. Second time that Alan Smith has had an opportunity to score in this game that he would have expected to put away. Now Winterburn on the left-hand side. Harkes and Hyde back there with him. Nielsen takes control at the back for Wednesday. This the chance that Alan Smith squandered. Good ball forward from Dixon. Flick on from Campbell, and Smith found himself in behind the back line. The shot might even have been going wide before. Chris Wood's got a strong hand to it. Hasn't been a masterclass in attacking play, the showpiece event of the English football season this year, but still the most significant moment of the 93 FA Cup final is ahead of us. Dixon does well to get it away for Smith. 10 minutes to go. Merson away by Palmer. Foul on Davis. Wicket taken quickly after the indiscretion by Bright. Smith tries to turn it forward for Campbell. Waddle. It's Waddle again. Bright arriving! Both sides are getting closer, but still they haven't got themselves ahead. Great pass from Chris Waddle. And I think Bright was expecting Adams to get there. And he kept his eye on the ball, Mark Bright. He surely would have scored. And it could have been another extra time winner at Wembley in the FA Cup for Mark Bright for Sheffield Wednesday. But what a peach of a pass from Waddle. Waddle again. Wasn't sure where the ball had gone. Still manages to come away with it. And Leary's header falling invitingly for David Seaman. Now Nigel Winterburn. On a mistake. Has given Campbell a chance. He's got Smith up in support. Merson let it run. Smith will be able to pick it up eventually. Davis with the shot. Poor effort in truth from Paul Davis, who played a handful of games this season because of injury. That shot nowhere near being his first goal of the season. Now at the stage of the game where cramp is beginning to take its toll. Too much in the way of options for Kevin Campbell. Merson let it run thinking Smith was closer to him. He still managed to get there when he probably shouldn't have been able to. Laid it back intelligently, Alan Smith, but Paul Davis got it all wrong. His next appearance for Arsenal, incidentally, Paul Davis will be his 400th for the club. Arsenal career which has seen him win the League Cup in 1987 and this year, 2 league trophies. Will he be adding the 1993 FA Cup to that roll of honour as well? Well, Warhurst's got over the cramp. Nielsen will try and run his injury off. Richie Parker is saying to Trevor Francis, I hope they add on enough injury time, or I wonder if he's saying only 6.5 minutes to go. Hard to see a winner coming now before penalties. Arsenal got the bodies back quickly enough. Winterburn was making sure that he stayed 2 or 3 yards goal side of John Harkes. Clearance from Seaman. Merson gives chase, Nielsen is there, Merson's done well. Winterburn pushes forward. Still on his feet, Roland Nielsen. I think there shouldn't be too much of a problem for these players. Not too many of them are in their 30s. Nigel Worthington, Chris Waddle and Mark Bright, the only 3 of the Sheffield Wednesday outfield players in their 30s. Obviously Chris Woods is as well. Paul Davis, Andy Linnigan, Alan Smith of Arsenal. Everyone else in their 20s. They look mentally fatigued though. They've played 122 games between them this season. Games they've played, the last 3 minutes or so of their season is going to be the most important 3 minutes. Harkes, away by Adams. Winterburn, John Jensen was fouled. Now Wednesday are going to make their final change. Spark Williams is going to come on. Shaw consider himself unlucky not to have had a place in the starting lineup. That looked like a big sigh of relief from Roland Nielsen when he saw it was a number 2 on that board. So Mark Williams on for Nielsen, and the 18-year-old with a chance to make a real name for himself, the England under-21 international. So much is expected of him, which is why Sheffield Wednesday paid Lake Norient a 6-figure fee for him last year. Arsenal take the free kick, down by Palmer. Here's Linnigan. Davis. Waddle. Both sides desperate not to make the mistake which would loosen this final. A minute to go in extra time. One long ball hoisted over the top. This is Paul Warhurst for Sheffield Wednesday. Winterburn. Davis. Everybody back for Sheffield Wednesday as Arsenal try and probe one last time. Winterburn. Palmer heads it clear. Davis brings it down. Smith. Woods gets it away for safety for Sheffield Wednesday. Winterburn with the throw. Here's Alan Smith. Hyde puts it out of play for another throw. In stoppage time at the end of extra time. Everybody forward for Arsenal. 1-1 inside the area from Winterburn. The shot will ricochet away. Arsenal have a corner. Only their third of the game. And it comes in the 121st minute. Merson takes it. Linegan! Arsenal have won the FA Cup! And the hero is one of the most unlikely men on the pitch to score the winner in the FA Cup final this year or any year. Andy Linegan playing the majority of the game with a broken nose and has broken the hearts of the Yorkshiremen. Sheffield Wednesday, surely now beaten in the second domestic final of the season by Arsenal by 2 goals to 1 again. Merson with the corner, and Linegan came from deep, hadn't been picked up. Wood should have done better, and Hyde couldn't hack it away. And Andy Linegan, whose brothers are on the staff at Sheffield Wednesday, has won the cup for Arsenal. Trevor Francis cannot believe what he's just seen. Fourth goal of the season for Andy Linegan, the biggest of his career by a string. Here's Bart Williams though for Sheffield Wednesday, and they've won a corner. Will lightning strike twice? Or will Arsenal be able to hang on to the lead this time? Jensen gets it away. And the referee brings an end to the game. Arsenal have won the FA Cup for the 6th time. A final that was by no means pretty. But boy, was it dramatic. Andy Linegan with a goal 90 seconds into stoppage time at the end of extra time. And Arsenal have become the first side to win the League Cup and FA Cup in the same season. And how harsh on Sheffield Wednesday that they have been the side beaten on each occasion. Big hug for Linegan from another man who's won the FA Cup with Arsenal, Pat Rice, member of the double winning side in 1971. And the Sheffield Wednesday supporters are stunned. An embrace for the hero from George Graham, Chris Waddle, a beaten finalist yet again, as he was 6 years ago with Tottenham against Coventry. As is tradition at Wembley in a cup final, it's the losers that go up first. Sheffield Wednesday know this walk only too well. It's a big honour for Carlton Palmer today in the absence of Viv Anderson, leading the Sheffield Wednesday players up those 39 steps, but how he wishes it was under different circumstances. Words of commiseration. Princess Michael of Kent presents him with the silver losers medal. Chris Waddle at the age of 32 will be wondering whether there are any more opportunities for him to play in this showpiece event. Scored in an FA Cup final, but still on the losing side. Tears in the eyes of John Sheridan as well. It's Bart Williams who made a fleeting appearance at the end of the game. Paul Warhurst, who had such a good cup run but forced to play at the back again in the final. And Trevor Francis, who's led his Sheffield Wednesday side to 2 defeats. Missed out as a player as well in his days with Birmingham City, when as a teenager they lost in the semi-final, and this will hurt him even more. Tony Adams, on the other hand, knows this walk only too well. The Arsenal players, who had a disappointing league season considering the fact that only 2 years ago they were champions, but they've won both the cup competitions. Adams makes his way up the steps, coming the back from Gordon Taylor, the chief of the PFA. 20 minutes ago he wouldn't have expected to receive this, but Tony Adams gets the FA Cup with its red and white ribbons. He lifts it to the crowd. Arsenal have won the FA Cup in 1993. A record 12th final, and after a 14-year absence, the FA Cup returns to Highbury. It was settled back then in 1979 by a last gasp goal, and for Alan Sunderland in 79, Reed Andy Linnigan in 1993. John Jensen hands the cup to Linnigan, and the biggest cheer of the lot reserved for the man who scored the goal in the 120th minute. Ian Wright, who scored in the final and also in this replay. Ian Selly, who didn't get on in the replay, and finally David O'Leary, his last appearance for Arsenal, his 722nd game for the club. And he and George Graham lift the trophy together.